Hello and welcome to Simple Salesforce. Today we'll go through triggers in Salesforce, the basic concepts. So first of all, what is it? What is a trigger? Triggers in Salesforce enables you to perform user-defined actions before or after changes to Salesforce records or data. Meaning, when you edit or insert or delete any data in record in Salesforce, you can also add a trigger which will be automatically called and executed and perform the operations you write in that, such as calculate the old or new value and do something on that one, update some other record in another object, and call an Apex class. We will see that Apex class calling in another video. For today, we'll just go through the simple concepts. So trigger is mainly used as a point where you want some code blocks to be fired automatically without explicitly calling them. And it has the capability of holding and comparing the old and the new data of record or list of records and allow the user to perform operations on them. So let's say you are inserting a record. So trigger will contain the old data in trigger.old and new data in trigger.new. So that way you can compare both and see what exactly you wanted to do with that one, and then you perform the operations on that. So how a trigger, we can create a trigger is like go to the object and then add a trigger into the and mention the triggering point. So let's say if you see in this image, we are just trying we're creating a trigger on account object where we are saying before insert do this. Just this is a debug statement which is going to be printed in the log. That's all. This is just to show you how that works. So there are many events we have in trigger. So before insert, before update, before delete, before insert, before sorry, after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete. So for every operation, so every record, insert, update, delete, we can perform all those before and after. So before going to the depth, I will go to this detail how exactly you can create a trigger. So there is one object I have created here, which is this one on the screen, custom object, trigger demo object. So in this one, you can go, this is the classic mode. You can go to the triggers. So just control F, TRIGG. Here the trigger. So I already added this one here. You can create a new one and then you can add. So what we have in this one, in the developer console, I will show you that one. So I put all those events here, before insert, before update, after insert, after update, all those here. We'll go through one by one. If trigger is insert, if you are inserting and it is before inserting, what you want the system to do, you are going to write in that one. So what we are going to see today is what is the value of the record which you are inserting. Just imagine you are just inserting a single record, but preferably we always recommend bulkify the trigger. Means you collect all your data in a collection like a list or map, and then you process that data in one transaction in trigger. We will see that in some other video, but for today let's see what exactly the trigger.new and trigger.old that contains here. So here if I go to the trigger.new, let's say we'll just, this is the same object, I'm going to insert a new record. I'm just creating a record here, and the trigger will be fired automatically. I'm not going to call it anywhere. Salesforce will automatically call the trigger which you already mentioned in that object. Test demo record. I'm just putting this one. I'm not putting first name, last name. I'll tell you that this is what I did here. So I just looked through that trigger.new. What trigger.new is? The new record which I'm now inserting. For that, look through that one and update the first name as new first name, update the last name as new last name. And why we are doing the trigger.new, not the trigger.old? Because when you are inserting a data, trigger.new will be blank. It is null because there is no old data. You are just inserting a new data. So just save it. So now you see this automatically, this one inserted because we asked the trigger to do this. That is what it is doing. So look into the log, go to the log and see what exactly it is showing us. So if you just debug log, inside before insert trigger and then trigger.new, you have the value here, and you just see this one here, id equal to null, owner id, name test demo record, first name will be blank, first name will be equal to null, last name equal to null here. and then go to this one inside after insert trigger. You see the id is now populated here, A0G4, and the first name last name will also have populated. New first name, and here it is, first name equal to this one, last name equal to this one. So this is after update. After update, you see there is a difference, there is an id assigned to this one. And then what else we have? After insert first name, after insert last name, that we have just put some debug statement. And then after new map data, so there is something called trigger dot sorry trigger dot old map, trigger dot new map. So what that old map and new map contains, that contains this id and this record, complete record, the same thing whatever you have in this trigger dot new, that that will be in there, and along with a map format, key and value pair. That's the only thing this map contains. Trigger dot old will be null, trigger dot new map will have value. Look at this old map. Old map is null, new map contains the data. What is the data? The id of that record and the complete record. So that is what we have in this one. And then what else we have? So we are just printing those value, and then once you this section is executed, it will go to the is after section. So this must be printed inside after insert trigger. Inside before insert trigger, where is that? Inside after insert trigger, that is what happened. And then okay, so first it went into this one, and then updated all these name and all those things, and then it goes inside after insert trigger, and then it will show you the trigger dot new, trigger dot old value. So same value it will just show you here. This is the after inside after insert trigger. The trigger dot new, you have the same new object. Old is still null. After insert first name, whatever we updated. After insert last name, whatever we updated. And then after new map, it contains the map value. And then we'll go to, okay, we are going to see something here. Let's say the same record we inserted once, we are going to see if we try to update the last name inside the is after section. This is after means after inserting you are trying to update the last name. Let's see that what happens. And now you go back to just clone it, means you are creating a new record, and just save it. What this is going to tell you, record is read only, which line number? 39 column 1. 39 column 1. This is saying this is read only because the trigger.new which you are trying to insert, when the moment this line executes, this trigger.new is read only. You cannot make any change into this one now. You have to make a change, you can do it in before insert. After insert you cannot do it. So you have to, that is why that error is saying you cannot do anything. It's read only right now. I'll go to this recursion after some time. Same thing happens in update. If you wanted to update in anything after this is before, okay, this is the one. If you do it here, this will not update, it is read only. So let's try something with the existing record. Now we are going to do an update. So now the trigger.old and new both should have some value. Trigger demo record update. I'll give you a little more details on the trigger.new and old in the documentation. So let's go to the log and see. I put the logs, debug logs, so that you can understand. Trigger.new has a value, trigger.old has a value. You remember before, whenever inserting, trigger.old was always blank. Inside before, this is inside before update trigger, inside this is updating 2 times. So no, this is I have written somewhere. This is row number 58, this is row number 64. Trigger.new and trigger.old. Same thing before old map data, before old and before new map data. What is the old map data and what is the new map data? And but this is the before event. And before insert record id, before this one, after also with the same record, the record id will not change. Inside after update trigger.new, you have only changes will be test demo record update. Earlier it was just normal test demo record here. Those are the differences. And the only thing what we are going to see is here how the data getting populated in old and new. Trigger.new and trigger.old both have the data. Map will also contain similar kind of data, the key and value pair. The id will never change because we are updating the same existing record. Similarly, trigger.is delete and trigger um, is before delete and is after delete. So this one you can actually, when you are writing this one, if you want to stop this line acts as a validation error. If you want to do something, some business condition, you want to put it here, and then you just put this line, just add error, it will prevent the deletion. I put it here just to make sure that you understand how that works here. Let's say I just save it and we'll try to delete the record. It will not delete this record. See what is saying? Validation error encountered was cannot delete that whatever we have written in there. So if I comment this one, the same thing happens here also. If you do that one in the trigger is after in the old, and in the trigger dot old you want to do that, it will happen like that. And there is no trigger dot new here because you are just deleting old record. There is no new, there is nothing new to insert or update. So that is why the trigger dot new will be blank, null here. We'll see that again. Let's delete it again, and now it is deleted. Let's go back to this log and see what is the log look like. Trigger old map before, new map always null. Trigger dot old map after has value, new map after null. Value available record, that is something else. So this is how the delete also work. So but main thing which we need to understand here is the details of how the trigger dot new and trigger dot old works in the trigger context. And now let's go to the documentation. Specialities of trigger properties. So trigger dot new old, I like I explained, these are the context data of the object on which you are firing the trigger. Meaning if you are writing a trigger on an account object, and imagine a simple scenario of updating a single record, trigger dot old will have the current data, all columns of account record, and trigger dot new will have the new data, all columns including the new values correspond. New value, this is for update, not for insert. Corresponding columns you are trying to update. So create a new custom object like I have shown you this example how that works, and the logs I have shown you the observations. Even though we have all events listed in trigger, control only goes to before and after insert section of corresponding action. Meaning if you are trying to insert something, it will go to the is before insert, is after insert. It will not go to the is before is after about the update section. It will only go to the insert area. Trigger.old is always null in both scenarios as we are inserting a new record. I have shown that one. We look through trigger.new, not through the trigger.old, because trigger.old is a null thing, so you cannot look through that one. ID of trigger.new is null before inserting the record, but we'll have a Salesforce ID after inserting the record. That I have shown you how the ID get attached to the trigger.new, and these are the examples I gave you how that works, and how this read-only thing I have just shown you how that when you try to delete something, sorry, you wanted to update something in the trigger.new, after inserting or after updating, this will tell you that record is read only in is after update or is after insert section. And then one more thing is that if you do not declare the event type when writing a trigger, it will not execute the code even if you have defined the code in the trigger body. Let's say this section, if you completely write all those things but you do not mention this is before delete on top here, this before delete, if you do not mention here and you write all the codes here, it will never execute. That is a simple way of understanding. And then why? Because we did not have the after delete declared in the trigger on the top. Now add execute, it will work. Then trigger old will have values all the time during execution when we delete a record inside each delete section. before and after. Trigger.new will be null because in delete we are not interacting with any new data. We are just deleting the existing data. Trigger.old and trigger.new values will be available across the trigger operation before update and after update too, if it is there. In, let's say if the trigger.old was null, it will be null all the time. If the trigger.new has a value, it will update to something, but it will not be null. Trigger bulk event. It is always recommended to write a trigger to process bulk records as well as single record. Let's say you are inserting thousands of data, and so how you are going to do that? You are going to put everything into a list and then process it. So that time the trigger will handle all those things. So the trigger.new will also contain a list of records, and then you can look through that records and process your business logic, and then you do whatever you wanted to do with that. And then when it happens, when you are trying to insert bulk data, recursive trigger. So let's say the process of executing the same task repeatedly resulting in an indefinite loop which is stopped by Salesforce will not allow you to do that one. So I'll tell you how exactly it happens. In some scenarios you may need to insert the same record, the record into the same object. Let's say we have some function here, this one. So insert test trigger for demo record. Where is that? Here it is. So this is the same object. We are just creating a new instance here. We are assigning a first name, we are assigning last name, and then we are saying insert the new record. And you are calling that from this trigger. And inside is insert, after is after. You are inserting that one. So if I commented this one, let's say comment all these insertion recursion check, and then do this, Control S. Now you try to insert a record. Let's see what happens. New test recursion. Don't give anything, it will automatically populate. So what it is saying? This is saying maximum trigger depth exceeded trigger demo objects, means this is going to result in a recursion. That is why Salesforce is preventing this operation. Now you just delete, uncomment this one and see what happens. Then I'll explain what exactly we did in that one. We just put a flag to check if this is already executed or not. Now save it. Trigger that new first name, new last name, whatever we have written in that one, test recursion inserted. Along with that one, it also inserted one more. But how this is not stopped this time? So what you are doing is you are saying if check recursion dot recursion check. First time when you inserted the record, you're trying to insert the record, you go here and check this value. This is a Apex class, and in this one we're just writing public static boolean recursion check equal to false. First time it is false. Static will contains the value of the recursion check boolean value throughout the transaction of this record. Till the time the transaction is completed, that value will return like that. So now false, you get inside and you make it true. Now the value will be true throughout the transaction till the time you have not changed it. And now you are inserting this one, it inserted. Next, so once the moment you insert the record, it will fire trigger.isInsert, trigger.isBefore, and then it will come to trigger.isAfter. Automatically it will fire, and then it will come here. Now because before inserting you made it true, now this will be false, so it will not go inside and it will insert the record and it will not result in recursion. That is what the recursion is all about. And now we go back to this object and see did it create a new record for you. So this record is created, no, not this one. Automatically it will create a record for you like this, updated by batch, no, not that one. Which one? This one. So today's date, you see this one. So the new first name, new last name is inserted, and then okay, everything is new first name, new last name. Why? Because we unchecked this one. Whatever data you provided here, the name should be, that is all overwritten by this one. by when it executed before insert we have mentioned that make the first name last name like this. That is why it is like this. If we comment this one, it will also do the same thing. Let's go back, create one more, just clone it, test demo, and then test demo recursion. Give some name, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Save it. This record is saved. And now we will go and see what is that new record created. All, trigger this one, go trigger to this one, all records, and then this, I don't have a created date field, that is why I'm not able to sort it. What is this record? Recursion check, and now it is created recursion check for demo, which is written in this class here. Recursion check will be first name, but demo is the last name. That is how it is. That record is created along with the record which we inserted. So that is all about trigger recursion check. And then what else we have? So this is how we create this one, and then we did a check. This is all I have shown you how that happens, how to prevent it. You just created a simple class to check that recursion boolean value, and then you use that in your code here. Okay, and then the best practices, there will be many things I will keep on adding whenever I find all those. One trigger per object, so that no need to worry about which trigger will execute first, as there is no control over that by Salesforce. So you would just write one trigger, and inside that trigger Salesforce will automatically decide which one to process. Write your business logic in helper apex classes so that you can reuse that business logic for other purpose. If you do that something, if you write your business logic in trigger, you cannot reuse that one. And mandatory recursion check, always do a recursion check so that it will not create a problem when inserting a record in any of the instances. So all these other Salesforce help documents, go through that one, and then we will see how we can call some apex class from the trigger and all other things in our next videos. That's all for today, and thank you for watching.